I felt like Shannon was playing in my face. Have you seen his prior interviews? He's very welcoming and bubbly. The door is open. Folks talk uninterrupted. He allows them to be a safe space. The producer told me I would be in a safe space and told me, I would be supported. So that's what I expected. He didn't behave with me like he has not behaved with anybody else like he did with me. So many of y'all have been on my head like, don't you ever go on that platform again. So I will. I will not.
Oh man, so it didn't even take 24 hours. Damn near it didn't even take 12 hours before Amanda Seales low-key revealed why she has issues in this industry. Right now on social media, people are sharing clips from the interview on Club Shay Shay that featured Amanda Seales. When this conversation was announced, many of Shannon's core followers were like, hey bro, what you doing? Like, you don't know who she is? You don't know how she gets down? Be careful. Be careful. But the conversation happened. It was a pretty tough conversation. The beginning of it was rough. Towards the end, they was able to go ahead and find middle ground in their conversation and respect each other's perspective. But based on the clips on social media, Amanda Seales supporters are disrespecting Shannon Sharpe and questioning his intelligence and ability to be able to conduct this interview. And that's one thing. Okay, they can have their opinions. But after going through what she went through and then going on this man's platform to vindicate herself, Amanda Seales is co-signing and sharing the disrespectful comments about Shannon Sharpe on her story, on her page. Let's walk y'all all through it. So Amanda Seales shared this post on her social media right now.
I was really dreading today and I felt very dense and very heavy, and you all have really poured in to me with so much love. And I was not expecting that shit. I was not expecting it. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I appreciate you. I was resting on my hand, so that's why this looked like this. But I thank y'all from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, so that right there comes after receiving reports when clips like this went viral and people were going crazy after it.
There were a lot of parent-teacher conferences with you, huh?
Yes, but not for what do you think they were about?
Your excessive talking, maybe the doodling.
Funnily enough, no. You know what the parent-teacher conferences were about?
What?
Amanda is sticking up for other kids in the class. Amanda is correcting me. Like, I had a teacher, Miss Schwenk, who called a conference because she was talking about Aboriginal art. Mm-hmm. And she said that she stood in front of the class and said, that the Aborigines are a Stone Age people. And I was like, ma'am, there are Aboriginals alive right now. Like, they are a part of civilization. Like, What are you talking about? And she's like, well, no, what I mean is that they've never advanced. And we're in a classroom in Orlando, Florida. So, like, if we don't check this type of stuff, it's going to just continue. So I was that student. Like, I was the kid who was always raising my hand and just wasn't easily appeased by simply just someone being an authority.
Right.
And I love this because when she called my mom and said, I'd like to set a conference up because I have some complaints about Amanda. My mom said, well, that's interesting because Amanda has some complaints about you. And so they came to the meeting. It was my mom and Mr. Wright and Miss Cersei. It's all black people at Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando, Florida. And this lady sat there and actually you and Mr. Wright had the same build. And Mr. Wright was like, all right, so, we're here to discuss Amanda disrupting the class with her talking. And she was like, no, Amanda doesn't disrupt the class with her talking. She actually helps the other students out. He's like, oh, okay. So is it about her grades? And she's like, actually, no. One of her art pieces is featured in our exhibit at the library. And he's like, so what are we here for? And she's like, well, she corrects me in front of the class. And these three black people are like, here we go with this racist bullshit, because that's really what it is. We're in Florida in the 80s and the 90s. And,
but let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you think she would have felt equally as offended if a white kid, cause I'm assuming this teacher was white, right? Mm-hmm. If a white child would have corrected her I think most teachers would feel some type of way if a child corrects them.
That's not for me to surmise. I'm just saying that my experience was this lady giving wrong information.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to correct her. Now, this is the same lady who tried to accuse me of stealing. And when a white girl said, no, Amanda didn't steal it, I did, she was like, well, I think both of you need to go to the principal.
Right.
I am in Orlando, Florida, which is a notoriously racist state, Florida, in the 90s. And I'm talking to you about a white woman who is speaking about black people, indigenous people in a country where those same indigenous people have had all of their land taken from them by former criminals that were sent there from England. And she is calling them Stone Age people. And I, as a black girl, the only black girl in her class, am correcting her.
But my thing is, you're right. She possibly misspoke or she didn't know.
I guess my question to you is, why do you even feel compelled at this juncture in this interview? Why would you even feel compelled to try to?
Because because I'm not defending. But my thing is that what I'm trying to say, most adults, when kids correct them or speak, feel some type of way. This is not unique to a black, white, or white, black. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you took it that way. But I remember when I was growing up, my grandparents and parents said, hey, kids, stay in your place. Adults are speaking. That's all. Maybe that didn't happen where you were from in Orlando, Florida. But where I grew up when I grew up, kids did not correct adults. So I apologize if you thought it came off as combative.
No problem.
So in response to that, we got Amanda Seales sharing things like this on her social media account. I'm just an hour into this interview and she is just too smart for him. These faces are everything. Shannon is doing a trash job so far, constantly trying to invalidate her experiences, making her qualify every little bit. Geez, I'm exhausted for her. Cat Williams can say he read 3,000 books in a year with no interjections, but Amanda says she didn't care about acting as a kid, and she gets the most pushback, make it make sense. Can't even get to a thought-provoking interview because he's making her validate every word. This how y'all do black women that actually speak up though. All I can see is Amanda Seales is so poised because she shoulda ended the interview knocking all that ish off the coffee table because Shannon had her effed up from the jump. Why would you post that? You could read it and agree, but why would you post that after going to this man's platform? Quote, people like me are a blessing because you don't ever have to guess. When all your life you have been misunderstood because you don't know any other way to be but honest. This is the story of my life. I related to this deeply. Shannon was not ready for this level of conscious, divine, feminine power calling out the BS. You really tried to negate your childhood truth and experience. You handled that with style and grace. Now, Amanda also went on IG Live, post an interview to speak about her experience and some things that they left out. And just check it out right here, man.
I felt like Shannon was playing in my face, and he eventually turned the corner, but then at the end of the interview, like he just like, I don't know, just kind of like chilling. Me and Shannon were flirting. Ma'am, if you don't get all the way out of here with that bullshit, please don't insult me. And that was offensive. That was highly offensive. And it makes me wonder if you know when people are flirting with you. So when I left the interview, I just was very like kind of not sure how it was going to play out. And I knew that he had played himself in the interview in a number of ways. And so I knew that he would, they would probably edit some of it out. So that's how I felt. Have you seen his prior interviews? He's very welcoming and bubbly. The door is open. Folks talk uninterrupted. He allows them to be a safe space. The producer told me I would be in a safe space and told me, I would be supported. So that's what I expected. He didn't behave with me like he has not behaved with anybody else like he did with me. So that's why I did the interview. Okay. Any other questions? You know what? I don't feel like it showed my so it's weird when we talk about like truth, right? Like, so yes, like I got to speak honestly about certain things, but I don't feel like it showed my truth because it showed me in defense mode. And I don't exist in defense mode. So it put me on my heels a little bit, where I felt like I had to just kind of do a lot more explaining, and it was a bit exhausting, like mentally. So just like I had to really like kind of manage the interview, and that's really different. Now it's beautiful, like when you get to do interviews where you really get to just be like, you feel like you're liberated in the conversation. And to be honest, when I did the Jason Lee interview, like that's how I felt. Like the Jason Lee interview just felt really, I mean, like he's going to throw some messiness at you, but he didn't press you on it. And it just didn't feel like I was having to, really use like all of my syntax, like all of my synapse to like navigate. But nonetheless, and I feel like something I learned from watching it was that I have a tendency to, like my mom is very pessimistic. Like she'll always go the negative route. And I saw it play out on the episode, because there were times where he would ask me a question and I would be about to give like a positive answer, but then he would throw a negative spin on it. And then I would just follow that lead. And that is something I need to be more mindful of, just in the future in general, because I shouldn't be letting somebody like lead me down that road. So many of y'all have been on my head like, don't you ever go on that platform again. So I will I will not. I did have regret because I felt like I had made a big mistake in like sharing so much and just being so kind of just my full unmasked, like honest self. And then that turned by the end of the day, because I'm trying not to look at comments, but I was looking at the DMs, and so many of you all felt so seen in the interview, and you felt like you had somebody that was speaking your truth. And so that made it all the worthwhile, like completely made it all the worthwhile. And, yeah, so no, I don't regret it anymore. In the beginning of the day, like I literally had to step away from the radio show and cry and come back, because I just felt like I was so hyper focused. I literally didn't eat today. Like I just realized this. I have to go eat. There were some things cut out. It was cut out when he said to me, it seems like you think that anytime someone doesn't agree with you that they're racist. And I said, well, I mean, it's too early in this conversation to say that. And he said, no, I said, like, what in this conversation would make you feel that way? And he said, well, I feel that way because you just talked about autism being racism, and you just talked about your teacher being racist. And so then I explained the racism attached to autism diagnoses, and why it's like so difficult for people to get clinical diagnoses from because it's like $10,000. And also because as a Black woman, you're oftentimes misdiagnosed. And then they cut out where I said to him, like, didn't you leave your last job because of racism? And he was like, and they also cut out when I spoke about Palestine, even though briefly, they cut out when I spoke about Palestine. And they cut out at the end, he was asking, no, I have not been clinically diagnosed by a doctor, because I'm not paying $10,000 to do that. And most people will tell you that at this age, you don't need a clinical diagnosis in that sense. And I think that's the other thing. It's like, we are so conditioned here in this nation to really only consider something in one kind of way. And I I will get back to that. The other thing that they cut out is he was saying that what's it called? Hold on. He was saying that I guess Caitlyn Jenner said basically that she said like good riddance, I guess, when OJ died, and he was asking me about that, and I said, and he was like, how do you feel about that? And I was like, I mean, you know, I don't really know, but he was like, I just don't think we should celebrate when people die. And I was like, well, I mean, when the Queen died, I definitely was like, good riddance. And he was like, oh, I'm just not that kind of person. I just not that kind of person. I wouldn't do that. And I was like, so you telling me that if you went back in time and you had the capability to see your former enslaved, your people's enslaver put in the ground, you wouldn't do a little fist pump? He was like, nah, I wouldn't do it. I wasn't raised that way. I said, shit, I was. So that was that. Yeah, I do. Do I think people feel intimidated by you? Yeah, and it's unfortunate because it's like uncomfortable, and it just makes it feel like you got to do shit to make people feel comfortable. And then sometimes you do shit to make people feel comfortable, and then they feel some type of way that you're doing shit to make people feel comfortable. So it's like you can't win. I don't feel trapped in the system anymore. And I feel like this interview really helped me to like propel myself out of that system too. You know, I meant it when I said, like, I burnt bridges today, and I did that on purpose. And I burnt bridges yesterday too. Like, well, they had already burnt the bridges. I just, you know, sparked the last timbers of it all because I'm just not having it no more. Yeah, I would absolutely do Sherry, Jennifer Hudson, or Tamron. I've done Tamron before. I spoke to Tamron the other day. I've never met Jennifer, but Sherry is the homie too. But, you know, I just need to take a break from just being in the mix like that. And I'm going to be on this tour, so get your tickets. That's really it. My goal in the entertainment industry moving forward is to not be a part of the entertainment industry. I want to just be liberated completely. I want to exist as Amanda Seales. Like, I don't want to have, I don't even want to have this title of comedian or actress or etc. Like, I just really want to exist as Amanda Seales, and like folks are just kind of going along with or taking in, just the different creative ventures that I'm putting out there as they see fit. And that's what I really want to do. I don't want to exist within any of these boxes that I had to put myself in order to make it make sense.
Okay, so Shannon Sharpe himself responded to the backlash from the whole situation. Check this out right here.
I think sometimes, she thinks everybody's out to get her. Mm-hmm. And so until she's comfortable with you, she's going to keep that guard up. Mm-hmm. She's going to keep the guard up. Because I asked her for a hug earlier. She's like, nah, I don't hug. I asked her, I said, give me some doubt. She ain't want to give me no doubt. But once I told her, I said, Amanda, this is a safe space. You can tell your story.
Right.
She saw it back. She paused. She's like, can I have a hug? And then she was cool. I think a lot of things that, and people like, I was trying to invalidate her experience. No, I wasn't. It's the same thing I told Monique when Monique said, I was trying to get this role, and Oprah told me to go blah, blah, blah for, right? And she ended up getting the role. I said, well, Monique, did you ever think that they were looking for a black heavyset woman, and you two were probably the only two in Hollywood? And she said, oh, okay, that makes sense. Right. And so when she said the white lady had her teacher, I said, Amanda, did it ever cross your mind that, I don't know where you from, but where I grew up, Ocho, kids never corrected a parent or an adult.
Corrected?
Yes. And that's what I said. I said, Amanda, did you think maybe because you were a child, even though you were right, the mere fact that a child corrected an adult. Now, maybe in today's time, that's fine. Maybe where in some places you grew up. But I don't ever remember being in a situation, a child couldn't even interrupt an adult conversation. You couldn't pull on your parents or your grandparents' leg and say, hey, 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 hey. I'm like, huh? No. So that's what I was saying. I said, maybe Amanda, it wasn't racism. Maybe it was the fact that a child was correcting an adult. But that was her experience. That's what, and like I said, I mean, that's how she felt about it. But I enjoyed the interview. But I ain't got no problem with Amanda Seales. She was great. She's very funny. She has, and I do believe some of the people have done her wrong. And I think a lot of, because that's what you deal with. We all go through it. Dealing with men or women, you're not dating them, you're dating their childhood, their past traumas. That's what you got to get past. So I'm excited. I was excited to have her. She was great. She taught me a lot of things. But she's highly educated. She's real versed. She can sing. She's a comedian. She's a writer.
Is she married?
No, she's not married. She's not married.
The same day, huh?
I mean, yes, I'm listening to you list all the qualities that she has, and I'm just curious if she was married, because that sounds like that's a great catch for someone.
Yeah. No, that sounds like some flaws for some for men, because as educated as she is,
right?
Yeah,
she's there's a standard of a man that she's looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's not on the same educational level as her, she's gonna
right
down on. And but that is, if they're more educated than her, then they talking down to her. Right. So these are the type of women that will typically be single because they can't find the equal partner to they are.
She wants someone that's versed. She wants someone that's inquisitive. She wants someone that wants to travel. I mean, look, to each his own.
Okay, so here go my quick little thoughts, dog. You know, Club Shay Shay has become the home of the black sheep. You know, industry outcasts go on there to voice their grievances and name drop their ops, and that excites the fans because not many people would take that risk of losing relationships. So Amanda Seales actually made sense as a guest from that standpoint. But the audience that Amanda represents is completely different than Shannon's core audience. In actuality, men like Shannon are hated by Amanda Seales' core supporters. She's the voice of like Shea Butter Twitter. Y'all know the folks who write think pieces about, you know, why Sukiyana should be able to be ghetto as hell in public, you know, shaming respectability politics. Men should only date women their age, or if not, you're a pedo. Mixed people with white mothers are not black. Matter of fact, men shouldn't even date white women, but women should go where they're respected. You know, those type of folks, they hate Shannon Sharpe and everything about him. He's a misogynoir in their minds. But this guest invited them to his platform, and I'm wondering if he's regretting this decision to interview her. You know, I think he'll make money from it, of course, regardless, but we've seen that social media banter can bother him. You see, the same damn day he responded to what people were saying about him. And as she's vindicated herself and built a bigger fan club, the hate has been shifted his way as people criticize him by insulting Shannon's intelligence, as Amanda co-signs it by placing it on her IG story. Which leads me to believe that despite her perspective making sense on many of her issues on Club Shay Shay, I ain't gonna lie about that, but behavior like this is why she may not be a pleasure to work with. She seems to be a bit self-centered, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, come on, we gotta be honest. She's a bit self-centered because look, this man gives you his platform to help you vindicate yourself. You score some points on him. Okay, albeit people who really watch Club Shay Shay, y'all know Shannon be tripping sometimes with the research. You know, he always be tripping sometimes when it comes to asking people questions that he already got the answer to it early in the interview. He does that sometimes. He be tripping sometimes. So yes, you got some W's. You dunked on him a couple times. You got that. You scored some points on him for your audience. They're already praising you for it. You're good. But why, after a rough start to the conversation, then piecing things up, asking for a hug, y'all good, why then come to social media and co-sign disparaging remarks about this man who helped you? I mean, you can agree with what your fans are saying, but don't post the shit to your story, especially after you're using this momentum that this man has given you to promote your tour. But let me pump my brakes, and I'm not saying this to be funny. Maybe that's the autism that she spoke about that's blocking her ability to be able to recognize that being distasteful. You know, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to be understanding, because I just can't get why she would do that. She is someone that's trying to go ahead and make herself an independent person away from the media, so I guess she doesn't care about relationships. But it's just the common courtesy to not feed into the fanfare with people sharing hateful, disparaging remarks about somebody that you just worked with, that offer you their platform, that helped you even receive this love. Why fan those flames? That doesn't make sense to me. And if this is a common reoccurrence in her career, then you may be able to see why some people would say, I understand you, Amanda, I get you, but I may just have to love you from a distance, because if I get too close, then I have to deal with all that you come with. I don't know. But once again, pretty good interview. I enjoyed her perspective. I enjoyed his perspective in seeing her receive it after a rough start. But y'all gotta let me know what y'all gotta say in the comment section below. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here though. This is another update with Stace. Yo.